Good afternoon. I hope you are all well. Sorry. And that you are nicely getting into the end of the holiday season. Me and quite a few lawyers are working. We have some stuff to do, but that's how it is. And hopefully 2022 will be a good year for all of us. Yesterday we had our first live video live Q&A, and there were some live questions as well. Thank you for that. And today we'll do the second one, and we'll see how the year goes. Hopefully we can have many more in 2022. I have a few questions dealing with international child custody problems and divorce. If you have a question, feel free to pose it on the Advocate Muhammad Abduroaf Facebook page. Otherwise, you are welcome to make use of those links below, and we can take it from there. First question. The heading is parent overseas, child in South Africa. Okay, see what is the question. I live in the UK and I have a 5-year-old child in South Africa living with a mother. We were never married. I send child support each month and have video contact once a week. I would like my daughter to visit me in the UK for a holiday, but the mother refuses. What can I do? Okay, this is a bit of a challenging one. Let's deal with a scenario. Should the father have been living in South Africa, and let's say the father lives in Johannesburg and the mother lives in Cape Town. What would the father do? Simple, he'll approach the court in Cape Town to deal with the issue, to determine what is in the minor child's best interest. Is it in the minor child's best interest to have holiday contact with him in Johannesburg? Does the minor child know him? Is the minor child comfortable with him? What are his living circumstances in Gauteng, etc.? Who does he live with? How often does he see the child? When last did he see the child, etc.? So that's the scenario. So the court locally will deal with that matter. Now we have a situation where the parent lives overseas. The principle of what is in the minor child's best interest still applies. But the challenge here would be the father would make an application in the South African courts. Unfortunately, he cannot make the application in the UK. They cannot work. You will have to approach the court where the child resides, which would be Cape Town, and I would suggest here in this matter the High Court. And he will have to outline his documentations, his relationship with the child, how it came about that he moved to the UK, how it came about that the child is in South Africa and he's in the UK, etc. Maybe they met in the UK, the child was born there, and the child came to South Africa, or vice versa. Whatever the facts are, then ultimately he'll have to show the court, or prove to the court, that the minor child would be comfortable living with him in the UK, the minor child knows him, there's a relationship, and etc. And if he can show it to the court would obviously apply its mind, and if it is in the minor child's best interest to visit the father in the UK, the court would make such an order. Obviously, a child needs to have contact with both parents. I'm a full supporter thereof, despite one parent living in one country or in a different continent. It needs to happen. It's important for the child's well-being. All the minor child's friends at schools to say, I went to my dad, or I spent this weekend with my dad because our parents are divorced or separated. But here, this child cannot say that because his or her father is in the UK. Nonetheless, the court would have to apply its brain to it. It might be a bit jumping the gun to immediately approach the court for an order that the minor child should visit the father in the UK if the child never had contact with the father, physical contact. It might be a good idea to start off phasing it in, maybe having a holiday contact with the minor child in South Africa first. Spend a week here, have the minor child with you for a week, where the mother would be close by. Should something happen, wonderful, the mother should be close by, the child can go to the mother, as opposed to flying a child down all the way to the United Kingdom in a foreign city with a parent where the minor child is not used to living with. It could theoretically be traumatizing for a 5-year-old child. And then obviously there's the issue concerning transportation. Who travels with a child? Does the father come to South Africa, which might be a good idea, or should a third party take the minor child? Does the minor child know the third party, etc.? But ultimately you must have a plan, a strategy as to how do you convince the court that it's workable, number one, and it would be in the minor child's best interest for the minor child to have holiday with you in the United Kingdom. Um, on one given example, yes, it's possible, it will make sense. In another example, it would not make sense. So you'll have to apply your mind, find a strategy, speak to an attorney, speak to an advocate, and figure out what is the best way I can approach this matter, and ultimately have the minor child spend quality time, because it's wonderful. I mean, if the father is set up in the United Kingdom and he has family and friends that side, I mean, the child can benefit from that, traveling the world, seeing the world. And maybe when the child graduates from high school, the child can study in the United Kingdom, wonderful universities there. So those are all the positive things that could possibly happen if there is adequate contact and proper contact taking place. But obviously, we need to focus on what is in the minor child's best interest. The second question, consent for the minor child to travel and passport. Okay, I live abroad with my daughter. She is 11 years old. The father consented to us moving here. However, her passport will expire soon, and we would also like to travel to the USA. What can I do if the father does not want to assist in the process to obtain a passport? So I presume the minor child and the mother is in Canada, and the father consented to the minor child moving to that specific country and living there. But now the passport is expiring. You know, what can you do? You're not a citizen of that country. And how do you travel without a passport? And the father is not consenting to the minor child visiting another country. The difficulty I have in answering this question is the South African courts, or are the South African courts authorized to deal with this matter? Because here we're dealing with a scenario where people are living in a different jurisdiction. Yes, the minor child might have been born in South Africa, the minor child might be connected to South Africa, but the minor child does not live in South Africa. Our courts cannot adjudicate upon this matter because the parties are living overseas, or the subject matter, the minor child, is living overseas. How do we know what is in the minor child's best interest if the parties are that side? So, long and the short of the matter is, this matter has to be dealt with in the country where the mother is living in. It cannot be adjudicated in South Africa because the minor child is not living here. She's living in a different country, in a foreign country. That country must deal with the matter. The same way, if the minor child lives in South Africa, we cannot adjudicate a matter in the United Kingdom or Australia or Canada. Despite, in this specific scenario, the father living here, the minor child is not here, the subject matter is not here. But it is very interesting, because once I deal with the third question, you might find a different situation where the parties are getting divorced. But I'll deal with that shortly. So long and the short of the matter is, the High Court or the Children's Court locally cannot deal with this matter because the minor child lives in a different country. They are resident there, they are domiciled there, that is their home. Despite the father living here, how can a local court adjudicate a custody matter here if the minor child is living that side? It's a challenging one. Let us move on to the third question. International divorces. I live in Japan and my wife and 4 children are in South Africa. I would like to divorce my wife. How do I go about it? Okay. So divorces are very interesting. In order for a court locally to divorce a couple, the parties should, one of the spouses at least, should be domiciled here or resident here. That's the long and the short of it. So if the wife lives in Cape Town and the father lives, or the husband lives in America or Johannesburg, as long as the wife lives in Cape Town, she can institute divorce proceedings in the court where she resides, despite the other party living elsewhere. That's very important. They don't live in the same country, but as long as one party lives here. So if this person lives in Japan, I do not know Japan's jurisdiction, I do not know how the laws work. I dealt with some interesting international custody matters where I had to learn about other countries' divorce laws and custody laws. One country specifically, in a judgment which I had to deal with, said because the parties are not living residents here or citizens of the country, we cannot adjudicate custody matters regarding them. So that's very interesting. So if Japan has the same principle of South African law, then we can institute divorce proceedings in Japan and maybe summon some other in South Africa. But however, the simplest way, I would say, if that is a problem, would be to obtain the services of an attorney in South Africa, or an advocate with a trust account, and have that specific legal practitioner institute divorce proceedings for you in South Africa. The only challenge you will have is you will have to fly down to South Africa when it comes to the divorce day to give evidence if the matter is contested. Everything else can basically be done via email or video consultation and so on. I hope I answered those questions. I do not see any live questions on Facebook Live. There are none. I know the time is very odd. People are at work or people on holiday. But nonetheless, we'll see how it goes, how the rest of the year goes. And you are always welcome to pose those questions on those links below. Have a lovely day and the best wishes again for 2022.